Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on the crossover. This is going to be my review for part 2 of the Crisis on Earth X crossover, that being the Flash episode and the Legends of Tomorrow episode. So the final two parts, and yeah, so let's just get into it. So really the big thing to pick up from yesterday is that our main group of heroes essentially got left on Earth X. So they're in this like concentration camp essentially, and they're all going, okay, well how the hell do we get out of here? And we're really, they breeze over it pretty quickly, but they basically, say that, yeah, this is essentially a concentration camp, like a modern day one. And they do show there's people with stars, which obviously indicate that they're Jewish. And then there's obviously people that have like the pink triangles, which mean they are either homosexual or bisexual, so they're not straight. I think they chucked in bisexual in there because Sarah was getting roasted, so I'm assuming it meant bisexual and homosexual as well. But this is actually when we meet our new hero for the crossover, which we've never met before, which is the Ray, who is Ray Terrell. That's his actual name from the comics, and his name's Ray, but he calls himself the Ray, so he's definitely not scared of showing his identity. But we meet him, and yeah, he's actually a gay character in the show, and he's also a gay character in the comics as well. Now, one big story going on in these final two episodes, I want to say, is essentially, it's ER. We've got a heart transplant going on. Overgirl needs Supergirl's heart, which we did learn at the end of the Arrow episode from the first part of the first night of the crossover. Now, I understand why they did that, but it just seemed like a really convenient way to keep like Supergirl out of the crossover for a bit and just keep her like, stationary and without powers, and keep Overgirl stationary without powers, because if she was using her powers, she would get more and more sick and die in a faster way. So I felt that was an excuse to like keep them segregated and like powerless in these final two parts, but I guess it works because they worked it around like, Overgirl will die if she doesn't get Supergirl's heart, so I guess it makes sense. But on the side note, it just felt like it was an excuse to keep them out of the crossover in regards to using their powers and stuff like that. So I thought it was okay, but I had a bit of an issue with it. Now we do get like a quick cameo from Nazi Quentin Lance, which I thought was pretty awesome, and obviously he recognizes Sarah, and we find out that Earth X Sarah was actually, killed off by him because Earth X Sarah was also bisexual. Or she might have been lesbian, but I'm assuming she was just exactly like our Sarah, so bisexual. So yeah, pretty heavy by Quentin Lance there on the Nazi Earth. Oh, it was more than a cameo. I guess it was in a couple of scenes, but still, I didn't count it as like a major role. Now, one of my favourite entrances in this crossover would have to be Citizen Cold, aka Leonard Snart, or Leo Snart from Earth X, and I thought his entrance was really awesome. I love the goggles he's using. It's very comic book-esque from Captain Cold. Don't know how the hell he sees out of them, but it was really cool to see. And essentially, this version of Leonard Snart is the opposite of the Captain Cold that we're used to watch. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was perfect that they would go with that because, Earth X is almost like the opposite of everyone, so why not have the opposite of our Captain Cold in the form of this Citizen Cold? And I thought it was a really, really good addition to this last like half of the crossover. He was awesome. Now the Ray's powers were a bit dumbed down for TV, because in the comics he's pretty overpowered. He's almost like a Green Lantern. Like that's almost like what he is in the comics. I know in different interpretations his powers do change, but if you're gonna like sum up the character and like the majority of the media he's been in, he's essentially like Green Lantern, but with sun powers. Like, maybe not as strong in regards to constructs and stuff like that. But if you're going to compare him to a certain superhero and the way he like looks and moves and stuff and does things, it's essentially Green Lantern. So they did sort of dumb down his abilities a bit, but I understand why they did that, because the threat that they were going up against, it wasn't like intergalactical or anything, so he didn't have to have that power level. And you never know, if we meet Ray again, maybe he might learn more powers and stuff like that. But yeah, he was a bit dumbed down in regards to his powers for the TV, with this TV show event, but I understand why they did that. But if people were wondering if those were just his powers, in the comics they're more advanced, but it's similar to like Firestorm and stuff like that. They just dumbed down powers just to make the characters less overpowered. Now, one thing I have to point out, the soldiers that were in Earth 1 Star Labs, just, as they took over it, worst soldiers ever. Like, two different groups of two soldiers got taken down by Iris and Felicity. The Iris and Felicity stuff in regards to the action was really unbelievable in this episode. I was like, what? Like, what? And they were doing it in perfect sync. I was like, I don't know who was doing like the stunt choreography, but like you got to do it out of sync. If it was out of sync, I would have been like, okay, that's fair enough. But they dropped down at the same time and like whacked at the same time. I was like, they should do it where like one drops and then one drops and then it's like whack, whack. Don't do down, whack. It's really bad choreography and it just makes it really unbelievable. So yeah, that was not that good. Like their interactions were good, like without them fighting. But when they were fighting, I was like, this is so stupid. Like no one would believe this. Like no one would believe that Iris and Felicity would do this twice. Really silly. I did think it was cool that the Earth X like rebellion or the freedom fighters, if you want to call it that, they do name drop them once I think in this episode, but that their base is essentially the Arrow bunker on Earth X. I thought that was really cool. It has like the same design and everything. You know, reuse a set, so it makes sense why they would do that. Like some people might have an issue with it, like oh we've seen this on Arrow all the time, but I think it's just a smart reuse of a current day set that they have, so that they don't have to spend more budget on building something that isn't really necessary. But we do learn that Ray is from Earth 1, which makes you think, you know, down the track they could bring him back over here if like Earth X gets settled and maybe he wants to come back. So I thought that was really cool that they did establish that, and I think it just does push forward that the Ray could be involved in future crossovers. I thought Russell Tovey, who played him, I think that's how you pronounce his name, did a really good job in these two parts. I thought he was a really good addition to the cast. I thought he had instant chemistry with basically everyone that he talked to and interacted with in this crossover. So I'd like to see more of him. Even though obviously at the end of the this night's activities, he does go back to Earth X, which I think we all knew was going to happen. But hopefully we do see more of him because I thought, as I said, he was a great addition. We do meet Earth X Win, who I thought was just dumb. Like, how is he the leader of this group? Like, he was so dumb. But he does drop the Freedom Fighters reference. Like, I thought they just tried to make him the opposite of the Win that we used to on Supergirl, to the point where they just made him stupid. Because Win's really smart on Supergirl, but it seemed like this guy was just over the top aggressive and just really dumb, like just didn't think things through. Like, how is he the leader? So I thought that was really silly. I didn't like his character at all, to be completely honest. I just thought it was cool that they dropped the Freedom Fighters reference. I don't know if he did it or someone did it in reference to him, but they dropped Freedom Fighters, which I thought was pretty cool. The Sarah and Alex conversation they had when like Alex is freaking out about Kara, I thought was a nice, like, just calm down moment for the show. Those are like the conversations I like, not the ones where it's about nothing, which we had yesterday. I'm not going to mention the characters again. But that was a good character moment because they were able to, you know, give history of both of those characters in a really condensed way. They even, without name dropping Nissa, they reference to Nissa. Like, Sarah refers to Nissa as like her Maggie, as, you know, Alex has Maggie Sawyer's. So they don't name drop Nissa, but they refer to her. So if you're like, you know, familiar with the history of Sarah, you would know that they were referring to Nissa Al Ghul. So I thought that was pretty cool. Speaking of couples, we do find out that the Ray and Citizen Cold are a couple, which pretty surprising, I guess. Like, what's his name? Wentworth Miller, who has portrayed Captain Cold or Leonard Snart in the past, has always portrayed Captain Cold as asexual, which usually means you're not really attracted to anything. And then I guess in Legends of Tomorrow, they sort of like pushed it to like it was he was attracted to Sarah. I don't know if they ever wanted to go down the route where he was bisexual, but obviously on Earth X, he is gay. I'm assuming he was just gay, not bisexual. So he's in a relationship with the Ray. So you have another power couple in this crossover, which I thought was pretty fitting. Eobard Thawne drops the fact that he's versed Superman before. I'd love to see that battle, Reverse Flash versus Superman. And he goes, yeah, look, he's fast, but I'm faster. So I thought that was really cool. And I would love to see that. Just Tyler Hoechlin come back for an episode just to take on the Reverse Flash. That'd be awesome. Now, someone actually predicted this like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, in one of my comment section. I remember it because as soon as it happened, I was like, okay, well, someone actually pointed that out. And that's that the Doomsday weapon for the Earth X people is actually their Wave Rider. Someone actually predicted that because, you know, the Wave Rider can do a decent amount of things. So whoever did that, if you wanted to let me know in the comments if you're watching this, if that was you. I can't remember who it was exactly. I just remember someone pointing out in my comments. Call yourself out in the comments and I'll give you a congratulations. And don't try and lie because I'll definitely be able to proofread and see if anyone's lying, if you know what I mean. Like, I should be able to recognize who it was by the name if they do comment. We do get an Earth X Olicity scene. We see that that Felicity is one of the captors on Earth X, and I ship it. Earth X Olicity is much better than Earth 1 Olicity. Like, just get rid of Earth 1 Olicity. We'll just make it a spin-off show, Earth X Olicity. It'd be much better. And of course, in one of the posters that we saw released like about a week, maybe a week and a half before the crossover, they did show Red Tornado. It almost made it look like Red Tornado was on the side of the Nazis, like the Earth X people, but it's just a weapon that the Freedom Fighters were using to destroy the Nazi thing. So it was sort of like misleading, I guess. But it was a decent scene. Like, it was very, very heavily CGI'd, and they basically took the CGI model, I'm guessing, from Supergirl when like that dude was flying in Supergirl Season 1 and used it. And I thought it was a decent scene between the Flash and Ray when they took him on. Like the teamwork that they did, I thought was pretty cool. I do like the Ray and his flying motion, really cool. Yeah, I wasn't expecting too much of Red Tornado. It did technically stretch over 2 episodes, that scene. But it was good to see him, I guess, because we haven't seen him since Supergirl season 1. So you never know, we might see him again down the track if we ever deal with the Freedom Fighters again. But really, the Flash episode ends with like a massive downer when Martin Stein gets shot, and we're going to talk about that in a while in like the next couple of minutes because it was pretty heavy. But yeah, you could tell it was going to happen after that, and it was a heroic move by Martin Stein, but it was sad at the exact same time. But now let's move on to the Legends episode, the final part, and the first thing I want to talk about is really how extra evil was Eobard. Eobard Thawne was being extra evil when he was about to operate on Supergirl. Like, so much more evil than he had to be. But obviously the Legends arrived just in time, and the Atom is like holding it up. I thought that was hilarious. I was wondering, like, I thought Supergirl's skin might have been tough, and that's why he couldn't get through, but it was the Atom that was holding his scalpel up, which was just awesome. But yeah, essentially, along with the Atom, the rest of the Legends come, and I thought this was really cool. I was sort of disappointed the rest of the Legends weren't in more of the crossover. Like, really, they just showed up in the Legends episode, which is essentially what happened last year in the crossover. Like, the new Legends of Amaya and Nate didn't appear until the Legends episode last season, and the exact same thing happened this time around. Sort of disappointed, but I can understand just for, like, budgetary reasons, like, and just keeping the crew down, like the cast and crew down, so I can sort of understand why they went with that, but I can't help but feel a bit disappointed at the same time. But one scene that was actually awesome, I thought it was a bit over the top, but I thought it was awesome at the same time, was when we had all those heroes and Metallo was just in the middle, and it was like a Metallo gangbang. They were just absolutely going in on Metallo. It was a bit over the top, as I said, but I thought it was awesome at the exact same time, and Metallo sort of deserved it. Like, I was wondering how they're going to get rid of him, and they got rid of him in that fashion. I thought it was pretty cool. But one thing that really ruined a lot of momentum in this episode, I know people are going to point it out, but I'm actually going to quickly explain. There's a scene where Oliver Führer, the Nazi Oliver, is about to shoot Felicity, and Oliver comes in with Overgirl, like with an arrow to her throat or something. Oh no, it was actually before that, might I say, when Felicity's telling this Oliver Führer, the evil Oliver, to like go back to his own Earth and get off this Earth and stuff like that. That acting was really bad, okay? And I don't know why they keep giving Emily Bett Rickards these scenes, because I think she would know that she can't do them. I think she's actually said in the past she doesn't like doing them because she doesn't feel like comfortable doing them, and it shows in the acting. It was really bad, and I thought the acting for basically the whole episode was good if what they were going for. Like, Leonard Snart was being extra campy because that's what he was going for. Eobard Thawne was being sort of campy evil because that's what he was going for. But this was bad, and I don't know why they did it. It ruined a lot of flow. It just took you out of the episode. And this episode, these final 2 episodes were really good. So hopefully, there's something at the end I have to talk about, obviously, but hopefully going forward, like, this might be an example of don't give her these lines. Like, she's really good at the comedic stuff, and I really appreciate Felicity when she's doing basically her season 1 and 2 act. But this was bad, like really bad. And I think everyone on Twitter seemed to agree with me. So yeah, hopefully they do change it up because you can't do that. It was actually cool finding out that EarthX Mick was a hero, and he actually died in saving police officers because he hates police officers, but he was saving them on EarthX, and he died in a fire. So yeah. But now we get onto the feels, and I'm not going to lie, I cried once during this crossover, which is at the end, and I welled up twice at 2 different points, and all of them involved Jax and Martin Stein. So they were definitely the heartbreakers in this episode and the tearjerkers, and man, it was tough watching those scenes. The first one was obviously when Stein is just telling Jax, I'm going to die, and if you keep attached to me, if you're trying to keep me alive, you're going to die as well. So Stein willingly gives up his own life, even though he was going to die, but he, sacrifices himself to keep Jax alive. That was a really tough scene to watch. The next scene was even, I found tougher to watch, when he goes to Clarissa, who's Martin Stein's wife, and has to tell him and their daughter Lily that Martin's dead. That was a bit more emotional for me. And maybe it was just because it was emotional before, it just slowly built up. And then the funeral scene, which we will get to, was really tough as well. And that's when I actually started crying. So I'm not a heartless person, people. I know people go, oh, you bag out Felicity and stuff like that. No, I just don't like Felicity. It's just terrible. It's just absolutely terrible. But this, the Martin Stein stuff and Jax was just really hard. And I think they did it really good. That's the farewell that Martin Stein gets. It was great. Now, one little Easter egg, which some of you guys might have missed, are the Nazi Wave Riders, like Gideon. Like, I don't think it was called Gideon, but their version of Gideon was actually voiced by Susanna Thompson, I think that's her name, who is Moira Queen. She played Moira Queen on Arrow. So that voice, if you thought it was familiar, that's why. It's because it's Moira Queen. So I thought that was like a nice little Easter egg that they dropped into this crossover. Now, the battle for Earth 1, like the big battle scene towards the end, I thought was fairly well done. I thought it might have been a bit better. I was hoping for maybe a bit more stakes and just like maybe the setting, but I thought for what they were going for and the overall setting of it, I thought they did pretty well. The only issue is, once again, the soldiers of Earth X don't know how to use their guns and they just run at people. But I understand why they did that. In some cases, they shot their guns when they were shooting at, say, Nate, because he has steel all over himself, so he can block it. But yeah, I wish they would shoot their guns because it just seems a bit unbelievable about that. But yeah, the fight scene was pretty good. One of my favourite parts was definitely the speedster battle between Flash and obviously Reverse Flash. It just felt like good old times from the Flash Season 1. And obviously we do see Barry keep Eobard alive. So Eobard's off there, and that does just set up that he's going to be back at some point, maybe next season. He could be the villain again, or be like an orchestrator of something next season. I don't think we're going to see Eobard Thawne again this season. I think he's meant to be on Legends this season in one episode, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But I don't think we're going to be seeing like Eobard Thawne on the Flash again this season, but maybe next season. Let's keep our hopes up. I did love Killer Frost using that slide, which we saw only in one episode before, which was the Flash last season, but her using that like ice slide, like almost like Frozone from The Incredibles, to get up to the Wave Ride. I thought that was really cool. But the big thing is really the death of the power couple from Earth X, when we have Overgirl who's supernovaing, which was basically the threat because of all the overdose of solar radiation. So she was gonna, supernova, and that's essentially what happened. I thought it was cool when like Kara had to take her up, which was very almost like Batman v Superman. When he takes Doomsday up to the thing, it was almost like that, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we also see the Dark Arrow get murdered by Oliver, which I think we all knew was going to come. I was wondering like if Oliver's going to kill him or not. I was like, there's no way this dude's going to survive, or unless he was going to get killed by someone else. Like, wouldn't surprise me if Felicity came and killed him. But thank God Oliver was the one that did it. Arrow through the heart. I think that was pretty fitting. Now, for those wondering about Citizen Cold, he does say he's sticking around. He's actually going to Legends for a couple of episodes. I think it's only 2, maybe episodes 9 and 10. I think they're the only ones he's going to Legends for. So it should be pretty cool just to hang around with him for a bit more before he goes over to Earth X. But yeah, for those wondering about what was going on with him, he's going to Legends and he's just going to stick around there for a bit. But then we come to Stein's funeral, and this was tough. This was really tough to watch. And yeah, like once again, this was the part that made me cry. Just Jax once again, and him going to Clarissa and just apologizing and stuff like that. It was really tough to watch. And yeah, I think it was definitely the standout part of the episode. And going into the crossover, I thought Firestorm would play a big part, but I never thought it'd be this big of a part. Like, I never thought like they'd make you feel that way about them. And I think that it's hats off to both of the actors in Franz Drama, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry if I haven't pronounced that right. And Victor Garber, they just nailed it. And you felt like they were a father and son combo. Like, they really played that off in not only this crossover, but in Legends beforehand. I've always thought they've had really instant chemistry. And just this last part of the crossover proved that. So it's sad to see Martin Stein go, but I'm also interested to see where Jax goes from here as well. But then we come to the end of this episode where essentially Iris and Barry are going to get married again. They're sort of thinking about holding it off, but Diggle comes along. Diggle vomits again because it's a bit of a meme. And so Iris and Barry are about to get married. And then Felicity proposes to Oliver. Wow. Do I have to say any more? This was bad. If I was a West Allen fan, I would be so mad because this is the moment you've been waiting for. You got that wedding, but then it got invaded by Nazis. Okay, just a hiccup, just a bit of a speed bump. Okay, this wedding is coming along. Okay, we might do a little played down wedding, just Diggle doing it. And then Felicity jumps in and they do a double. If I was West Allen, I would be fuming. And even if you're an Olicity fan, I think you'd be fuming as well because you'd want something better than that. That was bad for both of them. So I don't know who wrote that. It was almost like they were just saying, well, they'll be happy if they're just married eventually, but then we'll also appease the fans that don't want something that's over the top. But it just ended up being really bad. I don't think anyone liked it. I thought it was just really bad. So I don't know who greenlit that, who thought that was a good idea. I don't know, they probably shouldn't have a job because that was terrible. And that's a really bad way to end a crossover as well. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I really want to talk about that because yeah, it wasn't good. I'm sort of scared to go into Arrow going forward. Like the only positive you can take from this in regards to the future of Arrow is there won't be any more will they, won't they, will they, won't they. They're broken up, they're back together, they're broken up together. They're married now. But hopefully it doesn't turn into like marriage drama, like, you know, with a wedded couple. Like hopefully it doesn't turn into that because it could. And I can just see there being like 20 times more Oliver and Felicity scenes on Arrow now, seeing that they're married. So I'm a bit worried about that going into Arrow. I know Donna Smoke's meant to be in the mid-season finale, which makes me want to scratch my eyes out and my sort of, you know, chop my ears off at the same time. But we'll have to wait and see. So let's stay positive. But overall, I thought this was a really solid way to end this crossover. I thought this crossover was a DC Comics fan's sort of dream because there was a lot of stuff, especially if you love DC TV. I thought this was a great culmination of bringing all these people together, having an awesome storyline. Or maybe not awesome storyline, but a really decent storyline and premise, and just seeing the teams everyone come together and just form this really cool team, I thought was really good. Obviously, I guess one of the big issues is just the way that they place certain people throughout the crossovers was a bit lazy and a bit like coincidental. But that they do that just so, you know, certain people aren't put in situations where they feel out of place. But yeah, I thought it was a really decent 4-part crossover over 2 nights, and hopefully they do the same next year and maybe involve Black Lightning. You never know, Black Lightning might be involved. I'll have to wait and see about that. But yeah, next week we have the mid-season finale, so that should be pretty good. So yeah. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on the video. Let me know in the comment section down below what was your favourite part of the crossover as a whole. What was your favourite part in these 2 episodes as well? And what didn't you like too much? I can predict what a lot of people might be writing down there, which I'm not surprised with. But yeah, just leave them in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.